clip we wings, somehow we can't fly out. But when we there a yard, nothing nice like Jamaica. Roast breadfruit and banana. Under the tree with a glass of lemonade. Jumping at the river when me ready for bed. No boy can't buy me out. Me no foreign minded, no way compared to Jamaica. Jamaica love, we wanna feel
Jamaica love. Everybody want to visit Jamaica. Jamaica love, Jamaica, Jamaica love. Welcome listeners, welcome. This is Andrea D. White and you are listening to The Advocate on Jam Talk Show on the internet. It is such a pleasure to have you with us this evening. And I just want to extend a very warm welcome to all my listeners, to those of you listening from Jamaica, from New York, from Connecticut, from US, Canada, the UK, France, the four corners of the world. Thank you for taking the time on this hot, balmy Sunday afternoon to reason with me, to share thoughts, to post your comments on Facebook. It is such a pleasure to have you with me. Now, listeners, there is something that I want to talk about, but before, let me again extend welcome. I'm your advocate. As I said, Andrea, I fight for your rights. I discuss your issues, the things that are important to you, and I try and offer solutions, right? I will always have a critical way of thinking, of engaging, so that we can think, is there a better way? Is this the right way? Could we have done this better? Maybe someone has a better idea. But the point of this, listeners, is to learn, is to share, and is to learn. That's the point of the Advocate. And for those of you who are new to my show, I'm a former JLP caretaker counselor. So let me declare from now that I am a member of the Jamaica Labour Party. I am a political activist. I support the Jamaica Labour Party because I think the Jamaica Labour Party is the best avenue, the best political avenue to get us to where we need to be as a country in terms of social, economic, cultural, infrastructural growth and development, to take us to first world, the status of a first world. However, I'm a Jamaican first, and my arguments and my conclusions will always be framed within the context of what is best for Jamaica. What are these the policies that the JLP advocating or undertaking or proposing? Will this in the short, medium or long term help Jamaica, or will it hurt Jamaica but help the party? And if it is the latter, then I will be against it, because as I say, it must always be Jamaica first, country first. So I'm a former JLP caretaker councillor for the divisions of Maxfield Avenue and Hagley Park, Maxfield Division and Hagley Park divisions. I'm also a law student. I'm a final year law student. I'm a lay magistrate, and I have extensive labor law and negotiating skills, because I'm a former union delegate for the BITU. I was actually a union delegate and the secretary for the delegates body for the Air Jamaica cabin crew union body, Flight Attendant Association. And I'm also the former public relations director for Area Council 1 for the Jamaica Labour Party. I blog extensively on issues, on current affairs that impact Jamaica, justice and justice reform, the economy, Especially, I like to talk a lot about green economic strategy and how we can frame or gear economic policies that is friendly to the environment and that is also sustainable, because I'm a huge advocate for the environment. So, as I say, I blog on corruption and how we need to basically try as much as possible as to eradicate corruption in Jamaica. I speak on good governance and, of course, crime. And I do this on on three media platforms. I do it on Facebook as Andrea D. White JP. On Twitter, you may find me at Advocate Andrea, and on Instagram, you may find me at I am Advocate Andrea. So listeners, we have basically done a synopsis of who I am, what I'm about. So let's get to it. Before I get into the substantive issue, I have some horrible news to report. While I was doing my running board for this show and I was on Twitter, I saw where the Jamaica Observer Online is reporting the gruesome discovery of the body of a 3-year-old in Orange Hill, Brownstown, St. Anne. And the tiny body of this baby, the little girl, had multiple chop wounds. And I'm going to be discussing this afternoon, listeners, mostly about crime and about the crime monster, the national crisis that we have on our hand. I'm going to be discussing that a lot. I'm also going to be discussing justice and justice reform, and I would like to touch a little on corruption. I would like to touch on the economy. And I'd also, especially the Jamaican dollar and the need for us to be exporting more. And I would also, and of course, I normally end with our civic duties and our civic responsibilities. So I'm going to ask you a question. Because this, leading with such a horrible story must be disheartening for my listeners, right? I'm a mommy. I have a 4-year-old. So I really feel this. And I started on Twitter the hashtag Jamaican Lives Matter. So I have a little Jamaican flag. I have hashtag the Jamaican Flag Lives Matter hashtag, And I started it because I want us to have a discussion as to what it means to you to be a Jamaican. What does it mean to you, listeners? Because for me, what it means to be a Jamaican is that I live in a beautiful island that God has blessed us with an abundance of sun and resources, natural resources. Tourists flock to our shores annually by the numbers to come and enjoy the beautiful bounty of the physical beauty of Jamaica. And as a Jamaican, it is my duty and my responsibility to protect it. So I'm talking about the environment and about your personal space and about how you take care of your community. But what also for me to be a Jamaican, what it means for me to be a Jamaican is that I should live in a country that I am only limited by the constraints that I place on myself to achieve my greatest potential. So if my greatest potential is to sweep the road early morning so that the other Jamaicans can enjoy a clean street, and there's nothing wrong with honest work, and this is important that you understand that everybody's role is important. Everybody is important. Right? We all have a part to play. I should not be impeded by me trying to go about my lawful business of sweeping the streets, worrying about crime and being raped or being murdered or being robbed, no matter what time of day or night it is that I'm about. As a Jamaican, I think that I should live in a society where we have a zero tolerance, hard approach to corruption from our public officials, right? We should have that. As a Jamaican, I think that I should be afforded access to efficient and quality healthcare and education. As a Jamaican, I think that after going through school, which whatever it is, if it is as a technical school, if it is a skill, if it is a profession, the environment should exist for me to be able to either start a business or be able to create employment for myself, for other people, or to find employment. What does it mean for you to be a Jamaican? And I start on this point, listeners, because you have, as most Jamaicans, I'm sure, I am beyond concerned about the crime crisis that we have in Jamaica, because we have a crisis, and we've had a crisis for over 20 years now. It must be a national crisis, listeners, when on average 1,300 citizens are murdered every year in a country of 2.9 million people. Right? And this is a topic that fills me with despair, that makes me emotional, that makes me angry, that makes me frustrated, and I'm sure a lot of you share my concerns. So if on average 1,300 persons have been murdered for the last 20 years, we're talking about 26,000 26,000 Jamaicans, right? Of course, we also have to think about the families that they leave behind and the traumatic impact that it continues to have on these family members. So, as I said, I want to start on crime, and I want to have a discussion about how violent Jamaican society continues to be. But I also want to talk about the National Security Minister's sectoral presentation in Parliament earlier this week honored Robert Bobby Montague, the MP for Western St. Mary. And I listened to it keenly because justice and crime are basically our justice, crime, the economy, corruption, as I said to you, are issues that I talk extensively about, right? That I try to get Jamaicans engaged with. And I have had some suggestions that I've been developing about how can I assist in my own little way in helping to tame this crime monster. And so I listened keenly to the security minister's his maiden sectoral presentation as the Minister of National Security, and this is nothing to do now with being a member of the Jamaica Labour Party. In my opinion, in my considered opinion, listeners, it was a solid presentation. There are areas that I wished he could have been stronger on, and I will discuss them. But then I realized that the time constraints under which he had to speak made him have to basically condense certain areas, which to me doesn't make sense. There are certain issues and certain areas of governance that need to be ventilated. So we need a longer time in Parliament. It just doesn't make sense. Crime is the issue of crime is one of them. Justice, obviously, the Minister of Finance would need more time. To me, those are critical areas. And of course, if you have something that is unique happening in a certain sector, then the minister obviously would also need more time to present to Parliament. So like now we have Zik V and the Chick V and all kind of Vs. You would expect that you would extend the time for, say, the Minister of the Minister of Health, Dr. Chris Tufton, to discuss these issues. So I hope that the Speaker of the House and the leader of government business is Derek Smith. I really hope that they are of the same mind as I am, to see that it just doesn't make sense, and will do something to rectify it. But I just want to touch briefly on some of what he intends to do in the short and the medium term, and then I want to go through it and ventilate it and tell you where I am. If I support some of his suggestions, maybe I could add something or subtract. Maybe you can add something or subtract. So listeners, let's get down to it. So first, he said that he will be improving police stations across the length and breadth of Jamaica. Now, I'm talking from personal experience, listeners. You see, when you're going to some other police station, them, not even your dog. I'm sorry if people get offended. Not even your dog you'd want to stay there. And you're asking Jamaican men and women, our brothers, our sisters, our husbands, our fathers, our aunts and nieces and nephews and cousins and friends. You're asking them to work. First of all, they're in a very high-stressed, dangerous environment because the nature of policing in Jamaica is very difficult. So you're now asking them to work in an area that, saying it's less than ideal is being diplomatic. It's a disgrace, right? And I would want us as citizens, especially those of us who are a little better off than others, to say, you know what? Let me visit my local police station, get to know the policemen and women there who are there to serve and protect, and see what we can do to assist them. And it don't matter which area, even if you live, I love to say Chisholm Avenue because, but even if you're from Norwood in St. James or Newlands in St. Catherine, right? Trenchtown, Tivoli. You come together and you say, you know what? Them say them want a microwave, you know. They can't have the police, them need a microwave. How much for a microwave? $10,000? A lot of money that. Guess what we do? We're going to see if we can pool together. Maybe we can go and ask the businessman down there if he can give away a discount and tell him what we want it for. And we go as a community and we present it to the police station. Maybe one weekend, we say, you know what, the police station want paint. We maybe cannot provide the paint. Somebody could go and beg it or go to the police and say, listen, if you provide the paint, you know, we will provide the labor and together we can paint the police station. These are the things that we need to do, listeners, if we want Jamaica to get to a place where everyone is safe, regardless of where you live and how you look. Right? And I'm here to tell you, this will foster a sense of respect, mutual respect, and eventually trust between the police and the citizens and the communities that they serve. So I support the minister 100% when he says that he's moving to improve police stations, and I have seen it because I saw some things that he has done via Facebook on his official Facebook page, where he has been carrying things like fans and microwaves and kettle, something as simple as a kettle. You understand what I'm saying, listeners? There are ways that we can help too, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're all fighting this fight together. Okay. The second thing that the minister spoke about, and I support him 100% again, is the installation of CCTVs. Basically, a smart city. And what a smart city is, listeners, it is an integrated multiple information and IT solution system. That's a mouthful. So let me just break it down. Basically, you're using cameras and technology to manage and secure the assets. For instance, infrastructure such as schools and libraries and government offices, like the tax office, hospitals. And what is very good is that the minister businesses and private homes can become a part of this smart city. So basically, you have and this is something, listeners, I've been preaching. If you follow me on my show, I've been preaching this ad nauseum. We have to use technology and smart policing to solve our crime. Hard policing and fighting fire with fire and violence with violence is not the answer. It has not solved anything, right? If it did, remember we had eradication. How can you name a police unit eradication? Eradication means to kill. Anyways, that is for farther down in my show. Let me stick to the minister's sectoral presentation and some of the proposals that I lifted out and I wanted to ventilate further. So this smart city, CCTV, this is huge. I don't know, listeners, if you remember on Maxfield Avenue, it may have been about 2 years ago, two men went into this car dealership under the guise that they wanted to purchase a car, and one of them had a briefcase, and he took out a gun out of the briefcase and shot the owner, and it was captured on camera because he had camera inside his office everywhere. And I remember it was horrible. He was saying, what me do? Jesus, you're going to kill me. And he shot him calmly. And while he lay there dead across his desk, the other one, the younger one, took off his watch. And they calmly walked out past the terrified receptionist who looked like she was about to faint, and went about their merry way. However, they were identified within a short time, obviously, because they were caught on camera. And when one of them discovered that he was caught on camera, the shooter actually, he ran away to Canada, and he was extradited back to Jamaica. It is going through the court system now. Clearly, he's not on bail because he's a flight risk. So they're both, as far as I know, in jail awaiting the slow, painful turn of the justice system. Right? The point I'm making is bringing up this real tragedy is to show you how effective, how much of a game changer the CCTV can be. Let me tell you further. When you have cameras all around, and even at a business place, I don't know if, again, there's so much crime that sometimes you struggle to keep up with the sheer enormity of the amount of Jamaicans that have been murdered like we're animals to the slaughter. But in Southdale Plaza, a couple was murdered when they were locking up their business place. And I know the place because I go there to buy cash pot. Yes, listeners, I buy cash pot because I really want to step up in our life. We all want to step up in our life, right? But this is not a joking matter. My point is, would we have captured the shooter already if there was camera installed outside the business and around the perimeter to even capture the make of the car, maybe the driver, because there was someone waiting? He calmly went up to the car, sprayed the vehicle with bullets, and calmly went back into the car, and he was driven off. right? So if I know that I am going to be on camera, I'm going to think twice, don't you think so? Because obviously it's easier for the it's a virtual slam dunk open and shut case for the prosecution, and to me it would be a huge deterrent. I support the minister in this. He put a price tag for this smart city at US $50 million for Kingston and St. Andrew, Spanish Town, and Portmore. Obviously, we have a resource constraint. We have resource constraints, but I'm hoping that the minister would be able to go to our international partners, especially the UK. As you know, listeners, in a different life, in a former life, I was a flight attendant. I was a purser with Air Jamaica. And London was my absolutely favorite route. And let me tell you something. From you step off of the plane at Heathrow until I step back on the plane to go back to Jamaica, you can map my steps via CCTV. So if the soon to be ex-prime minister of Britain, David Cameron, really wanted to assist Jamaica, instead of offering to build a prison, I think he offered us $25 million. That $25 million could have gone a long way in giving us a CCTV, because England is huge. I mean, everywhere there's closed circuit TV. So I don't know if the minister, if you're listening, I hope you are, sir. Maybe you could revisit the whole prison deal, and you know, sometimes, you know, we have to give up something to get something. I don't know what it is, but all I'm saying, Minister, is $50 million. It is a lot of money, but it is something that I support you on 100%. I would hope that maybe we could go to our international partners and say, listen, we have a crime problem. We're asking for your assistance in the spirit of cooperation and partnership, and, being a good global citizen. Maybe you could get a grant from the UK, a grant from Canada, a grant from America, $10 million. That's 30 million already. Yes, it's 50, but it is something that maybe over 3 years we could have, as I say, the whole of Portmore, Portmore, Kingston and St. Andrew, and Spanish Town and its environs, closed circuit TV. Huge. I support you, Minister. Okay, so he also mentioned a wellness center and gym, centrally located wellness centers and gyms for police officers. And I don't want anybody to be scoffing at this. This is huge because, first of all, the police officers have a very difficult job. We know that Jamaicans are indisciplined. We really need somebody to really instill discipline in us, right? The other day, a robot taxi hit a Honda. And instead of doing the right thing and stop, well, I guess maybe he never had any license and registration or whatever, which in itself should just automatically make you rob a 2 year if you're driving without insurance. In America, and I think in England, I can't speak for Canada, in America and Canada, if you drive without insurance and the police pulls you over, you don't have any insurance, there's no discussion. Do not pass go straight to jail. Seriously. That is how serious that's a serious matter. So we need to really look on the the Road Traffic Act and really strengthen it to make it effective. If you want to take the chance to be running a robot taxi, not even a robot taxi, anybody without insurance. I'm sorry, times are hard, but we have to now try and get Jamaica to a place where everybody obeys the rules, and those who decide that they don't want to obey the rules, they will be dealt with swiftly, fairly, and efficiently. Seen? So this robot taxi hit the Honda, and instead of assisting, he drove off trying to escape, to escape liability, and hit down a lady waiting on the bus stop to go to her work downtown. Kill her. Her son, this is a very horrible story. I tell you, so Jamaica have some problems. Remember, me tell you. But we together can solve them, I am sure. Her son, who is a student at a tertiary level, as a tertiary institution, passing by now, because she give him lunch money and bus fare to go class. And when he's passing by, he sees the crowd and see the lady and say, oh no, somebody, they lit down somebody. And he said he stood there a good minute looking until he realized it was his mother. Can you imagine the horror? No, man. The youth, they need whole heap of counseling. Remember me tell you. Right? So, as I was saying, the minister has proposed wellness centers and gyms for police officers so that, after a hard day of policing, a stressful day, you can unwind. A lot of you listeners, tell me if how you feel when you have a rough week, your week just rough, and all you want is a strong glass of whites to just wash off the whole stress off of the week that went. No, we don't want our policemen and policewomen to be having an intimate relationship with Jerry and his nephews. We don't want that. What we want is a holistic, healthy lifestyle where they can go and they can unwind. They maybe can go and play some dominoes, play Ludi, play whatever game, commensurate about, have fellowship, meet together. Maybe they can have outsiders. I don't know. I leave the operations to the police. To the high the commissioner. The point I'm making is I think it is important. He also said, and this shocked me, I'm not gonna lie to you. He also said that police men and women will be subjected to annual or biannual physicals. Me nearly dropped down. Wasn't that a given? I mean, some of the things that I see the minister proposing, I wonder, what were they doing before? What were previous ministers doing? These are, and what I like about Robert Montague is that he's a practical man. Someone I know. Not very well. I view him through the eyes of, or my view of him is through the eyes of when he was the minister, I think the state minister in local government, and how he operated, as well as when he had offered me some assistance and advice when I decided to run in the local government elections of 2007. Right? But he's a practical man. He, to me, looks at the issues and say, all right, this is it. This is how we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, bam. And what I like is that he's open to suggestions, right? So I would have no qualms about seeing him and say, Minister, I have this. What do you think about this, this, and this? And I would be secure in the knowledge that he wouldn't look at me and say, where Andrea talk to me about? What kind of fool business is this? You understand what I'm saying, listeners? So, what I was, back to the point that I was making is the policemen now have to be subjected to physicals. You're kidding me, right? This should have been a given every 6 months. You see, when I was a purser, every year is like we were retrained again. a rigorous, brutal 2, sometimes 3 days from what? From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 3 days back to back of drills and training. And if you don't pass, you're out. No, seriously. You can only resit mostly 2 exams. And if you fail the 2 of them after resits, you're no longer a flight attendant. The pilots had it even worse. It was every 6 months they had simulation. And if they fail once, I think they can try again. But if that's it, you lose your license. So it shocked me when I heard the minister saying this. No, these are the little things that I'm talking about. I call them low-hanging fruits that will bear big fruits. Another thing I saw, because he said that a lot of the recommendations from the West Kingston inquiry, Commissioner's inquiry, geared specifically to the JCF, will be implemented. And I see where the Commission had recommended that there should be a list of all police personnel who are authorized to wear masks. And I said to myself, what do you mean there should be and you're suggesting? Isn't this the normal modus operandi? And you know what I realized, listeners? A lot of the challenges that we have in the JCF has to do with management or mismanagement. These are clear breakdown in policies and procedures that need to be strengthened and need to be adhered to, and there should be no deviation from standard operating procedures. A lot of them. I mean, I was floored. So you're telling me that any member of the JCF can wear a mask and go kill off somebody and you don't know who it is because you don't have a list of who is authorized to wear mask? That's unacceptable. Really unacceptable. Right? He also mentioned a decrease in the use of non-lethal weapons. I guess he probably means, like using tasers. I don't know. I'm the one throwing this out. He never said anything about that. He also explained that he would be expanding expanding the capabilities of arms like MOCA, which I agree with. I liked when he was basically saying people who scam people and talk about them can get job for them overseas. You better you go to MOCA before MOCA come looking for you. I really liked that, There were quite other things that he said. He also said that the army has been deployed in certain hotspots to quell the upsurge in murders that we've been having. And I also support that. What I don't support, listeners, is a state of emergency. I just don't. And I will talk about why I don't support a state of emergency a little bit when I talk about justice. I just wanted to say that I wanted to talk about one of the things that I said I thought he could have ventilated more on, and that is corruption in the JCF. But then he said he has 5 pillars to fight crime. And let me tell you, I want you to listen to them. I want you to sit down. I want you to say if you have any suggestions at all to offer, please feel free to write it on Jam Talk on Facebook under the comment. We welcome all suggestions. We welcome all criticism, because at the end of the day, it's Team Jamaica. Jamaica first, every time, all the time. So the minister said that he has 5 pillars under which he intends 5 pillars, and these are short, medium, and long-term policy directives. And the first is social development. And I've said again ad nauseum that you cannot think that you're going to get a decrease in any kind of crime, rape, murder, domestic violence, theft, unless you have some kind of social intervention. Right? There are a lot of households who have single parents, and even when there's only single parent, it's not even a single parent, it's half of a single parent. Because either the person gone to work trying to make it for her 3 or 4 kids, because most times the single household is headed by a woman, or she not care, or the father or the mama not care, the papa or the mama not care, them not care, right? So let me give you an example what I mean by social intervention, right? The then boss for St. James, I think it was Steve McGregor, was talking on a news station, and he was making the point that at about 6 p.m. one evening, a schoolboy in his school uniform, looked to be about 14, well, he said he was 14 after he was questioned, was seen with one of those hoverboards, which is valued at $60,000. So they carry him home, take him off the street because, anything can happen, and they're trying to do community policing, which I think is commendable. And when they carried him home, the police officer said to the mother, so mommy, did you buy this board for him? So she said, no. So the policeman said, so how did he get it? So she said, ask him. So the policeman said, replied, yes. He said that is him, he bought it. So she said, yes, I him buy it, my dear. So the policeman said, and you're not concerned about how he got the money? And the woman traced off the police them and said them for left her picnic and go look for criminal. Because she cannot make the connection between a 14-year-old having access to a toy that is valued at about 60,000 Jamaican dollars, which a lot of Jamaicans don't earn a month time, right? She can't make that connection, and between him obviously being mixed up in God knows what, and she don't ask him. When I was growing up, if I carried home a pencil, and I'm sure it rings true right now in a lot of Jamaican households, if I carried home a pencil, just a pencil or a rubber or a sharpener, let me not even go into books, that my parents did not give me, I would have to tell them where I get it if I didn't buy it. And if I bought it and they know that they didn't give me the money, unless I say I use my lunch money, okay, fine. But I would have to give account for it. And I am heartened to see that there are plans afoot for people to continue to be on the PATH program to take parenting classes. These are the things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about, and I'm sure what Minister has in mind when he's talking about social development, social intervention. We have to get back to basics. Right? And I'm not going to use no slick words like values and attitudes. We need to get back to building the family, because that's the only way we can repair the society. And a family doesn't necessarily mean a mommy and daddy and child. Yes, I am married and I have a child, so that's a family. But a family can be equally effective in my mind, in my opinion, if it's just the father there or the mother there. Children need love, children need discipline, children need guidance, children need good values. And I think once we get back to that point, then a lot of the social ills that contribute to crime will be diminished. I assure you. Right? So the minister also talked about situational prevention. I think basically what he's saying is that before things escalate, you use things like restorative justice and mediation. Another thing I'm big on. Talk it out instead of fighting it out. So that's another thing that the minister spoke about. Let me tell you something. Everything that the minister said, I say, wait. Minister, listen to my show, man. Because we're of one mind, minister. And listeners, we're of one mind with the 5 pillars, right? So now he's talking about a lot of the problems that we have are domestic related. So a man say, "Oh, you gonna left me? You now left me. Was it?" And him chop her up, him cut her throat, shoot her, whatever. And we need to get to, which again ties into the whole social development and social intervention. How men and women view relationships, how they see themselves, how they express themselves, how they deal with conflict. I mean, Jamaica, as I said, we have a lot of issues, we have a lot of challenges, but I do firmly believe that if we work together, we can have a better Jamaica, a better society. The third pillar is effective policing, and for me, what effective policing means is not the JCF in its current dispensation. Effective policing means using technology, using your smart investigative skills, not being corrupt. Not when a man, you think somebody bad drive you, you come out of the vehicle and you shoot up the vehicle and shoot a 15-year-old alpha student on her way to school in the head. Thank God now she's out of the hospital. She has another surgery, but she was able to talk to thank Jamaica. It brought tears to my eyes, Jamaica listeners. We have a problem in the JCF. And I'm not going to nice it up for you listeners. The JCF has been, and this is one of the weaknesses I thought in the minister's presentation, but I think he wanted to be mindful of not being, supportive of the role that the JCF has to play in crime fighting, the critical role. But also, so he said there are a few bad eggs. A few bad eggs? No. More like a baker's dozen and counting. Right? Or several baker's dozen and counting. You cannot have a police force. So let me tell you how I see the police force. And as I say, I'm not nicing it up. The JCF, there are fractions in the JCF, corrupt fractions in the JCF that has been allowed to fester. So now it has opened up into a big putrid, festering sore. Seriously, with maggots in it. That is how I see the corruption in the JCF. There is a policeman on remand right now for the murder of the policewoman the other day in East Kingston on our way to work, who works at the office of the commissioner on Old Hope Road. A fellow police. There are numerous reports of policemen trampling on the rights of the Jamaican citizen, killing Jamaican citizen. Enough. So it's not a few bad eggs, Minister. I'm sorry. You need to address the corruption in the police force. What are you going to do about it? Jamaicans need a clear mandate from you. Clearly outlining how you're going to deal with it. First things first. Me, personally, honestly, I would disband the JCF. Honestly. You have to convince me that there are parts that it can be saved. Convince me that the patient it can be revived, resuscitated. Convince me. I remain unconvinced. You cannot have a police force that looks at itself that they're at war with the citizens of Jamaica, and there are police officers in the police force who are really trying and who are trying to bring a different face to it. But unfortunately, the bad apple them just stink up the whole basket. So I need to know, what is your policy on, or if we don't disband it, going forward every year. Listen to me, listeners. I don't know how much it's going to cost. And if it is very cost prohibitive, maybe every 2 years, but no more. The members of every single member, from commissioner go right down to the squaddy, everybody, every year or every 2 years, they must redo lie detector tests and psychometric tests. Mandatory. right? If you are found guilty in a court of law, if you're found guilty in a court of law, you lose your pension. If it's let's look at the Alpha student going to school. She was in the back of a robot taxi. I'm sure listeners, you know the story. Apparently look like the police bad drive the driver or run on the driver or whatever, and they came out and they shut up the vehicle. There were 3 other students in the car going to school, St. George's, and another Alpha girl, right? And nobody came forward. Which brings me to another thing, Minister, when you're talking about effective policing. Listeners, listen to this. Would you believe that none of the police vehicles have GPS trackers on them? Which I guess would tie in with what the minister is talking about, smart city. So you don't know, I mean, just for safety, not even thinking about police doing something illegal or outside their parameters, just for safety, to know that if a police say, we pin down, and they don't know where they are, nobody can go for them because they don't have GPS tracker on the vehicle. That makes sense to Uno? In a modern 2016 Jamaica, where we're trying to find creative solutions to our crime fighting, listeners, look like mega spend the whole of this evening on this crime thing, right? It makes no sense to me. So we need to install the 400 vehicles that you're getting, ministers. You just make sure them embed the GPS system. Send out the contract to either Hawkeye or King Alarm or whichever one give you a better package. You go with them because we the taxpayers paying for it, right? And you can track them. If it is that you don't want to, because you may say, well, no, we can't have an outsider doing that, then you create a department. The knowledge is there in Jamaica. It's right here. We're smart. You create it, minister. But it is unacceptable that you don't have GPS on the police vehicles. It is ridiculous, actually. Right? And then minister is now talking about swift and sure justice, which again, listeners, you know me always talking about justice and justice reform and the need for justice to be sure and to be swift and to be efficient. No, not in Jamaica. The Jamaican justice system continues to creep along at I don't even know what to say, at a snail's pace, and a lot of cases languish in the courts forever. We have I don't know if you know, listeners, but we have cases over 5 years. Over 5 years, right? I'm going to read something for you. It was in the Jamaican Observer, dated the 10th of May 2016, so a couple of months ago. And I want you to listen to what I'm reading carefully. The island's special coroner, William Campbell, says his office needs more resources in order to speed up the disposal rate of cases, as the current 2 to 3 per month is not enough to address the backlog in the system. 2 to 3 per month. So let us be generous and say 3 per month. So what? For the year, that's 36. So 36 cases are being disposed of as we speak in the coroner's court. You're listening to this, listeners? Listen to what this says now. According to the special coroner, at any given time, his office is handling 300 to 400 cases. Rastafari. So listeners, if you are to follow this, right? It's going to take over 10 years to the 300 and 400 backlog for this. We're not talking about the new ones that keep on coming. He said that although police fatal shootings have fallen dramatically, moving from approximately 21 per month to 8 per month, there remains a high rate of shootings and the resultant backlog. The Office of the Special Coroner, and it says what it was set up for. We know what it was set up for, right? The point is, the minister is talking about how one of his 5 pillars is swift and sure justice. We have a lot of laws on the books, on a lot of laws. The problem is catching the criminals. The problem is the police doing effective, as he said, effective policing in terms of their investigative skills and carrying a solid case to court. Those are some of the challenges, right? And I am sure that the minister will be working with his counterpart in the ministry, the head of the Ministry of Justice, Honor Delroy Chuck, to see how can we, what are we going to do? We need a special coroner's court. No doubt about it. Can we rent somewhere in the short run? Because 300, if you say you want to clear up, say 2 years, which to my mind, listeners, is still long. But yes, we have a resource constraints, right? So even say, you know what? We're going to use 2 years to clear this backlog. That is about, on average, 13 cases a month. What are the resources necessary to effectively and efficiently deal with 13 cases a month before the coroner's court? These are the things that I'm sure must occupy the minds of the Minister of Justice and the Minister of National Security. Because if it is that they want the crime to go down and the justice system to be seen as credible and efficient and sure, and then these are the things that they have to be addressed, and the money has to be found somewhere, right? Now, I have always said, you see, we don't plan in this country. We don't plan. Our policymakers don't plan. But I'm hoping the Minister of Justice spend a whole heap of money to renovate somewhere at Barron's Plaza on Half-a-Tree Road, listeners. Just below the supermarket name again, Lux. Anyways, it's on Constant Spring Road. And apparently it was in the works before. You know what I'd like to see, listeners and Minister of Justice? I would like to see a real justice square, and I've been talking about this for some time now. And what I mean is that offices like the office of the DPP, the office of the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of National Security, and the coroner's courts, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, Sutton Street, they're all located downtown within like maybe a square or a circle. The point is, you can pinpoint them, right? And we look at it in terms of development and we say, okay, we need to increase the court space at the Supreme Court or maybe the parish courts. We need to increase court space, especially in these areas, in Montego Bay, in Maypen, in Kingston and St. Andrew. And I'm just throwing out these because I really don't know. I don't have the data in front of me. I'm just making suggestions. And so you have an overall plan of what you want in terms of increasing courtroom spaces, increasing resources, right? Because at the Supreme Court, the elevator hasn't worked in months, right? These are the little things that shows that to me illustrate that our government is not working, and governments should work for the people. right? So now the minister would have a 10-year development plan outline. I mean, get models, seriously. This is where we want to be. And then over time increase the courtroom stock, your stock of available courtrooms. And I'm here to tell you, you may not see it today, you may not see it tomorrow, but in the long run, because if every year the PNP government has been in power for 26 of the last 30 years, if every year the government had said, the previous government, PNP administration had said, you know what? Every year we're going to build, we're going to add on a courtroom, or something, or increase the courtroom space in, say, Mandeville or Santa Cruz or wherever the need is. If they did even one room, that would be 26 new rooms now. We have to think long term. Now, the minister also, the last pillar. So we discussed social development and social, intervention. We discussed the second pillar, which is situation prevention. He spoke about effective policing, and I just, did an overview of swift and short justice, all of which I'm in support of. And the minister also spoke about rehabilitation and redemption. And of course, he's basically talking about the prison system. There are people, you cannot, at the end of the day, there are people who commit crimes and they are locked up. When they pay their due to society, they're going to come back out. That's the hard reality, unless they have been given life sentences. And when they come back out, do you want to have someone worse than what went in? Or do you want someone that can contribute to society and can assist himself, can help himself, and by helping himself, develop himself and contribute to nation building? Let me tell you, it's when I listen to the minister, I say, all right, minister, are you me want to come work with? Yes, I intend to be a lawyer, and yes, justice is where I really ought to want to occupy my mind. But let me tell you, I like how he sits down and he realizes how important having all of these, the 5 pillars, once they're effectively implemented, how important, how huge it will be in assisting the overall reduction of crime and contributing to our justice system, to an effective and efficient justice system. So in terms of prisoners, you want to make sure that a man going to prison, going for wounding with intent, whatever it is, but he's going to come back out, you want to know that he has a skill. And you want to know that when he comes out, again, the social development and social intervention, you want to know if he's on parole, that you have effective monitoring of this person. The person is taught life skills as well as, a skill to help himself. So maybe him can cut hair. Maybe, him could have cook. You never know. Him can open a little cook shop and, do something for himself. If he has a baby mother or a wife, him take care of him family. Because when a man has something, when a man has a sense of purpose, trust me, it helps with his self-esteem. And, listeners, I never knew I was going to discuss at length so much about crime. But I have to discuss, justice. I have to discuss the Jamaican, quite a large section. Well, a lot of the defense attorneys and human rights activists were up in arms when the Attorney General Marlene Malahou Fort, in her sectoral presentation, suggested that Jamaicans may have to, and I'm quoting, abrogate, or the Jamaican state, may have to abrogate, abridge, or infringe on the rights of Jamaicans in order to fight crime. No. And she suggested that they should, they're going to touch the Bail Act and they're going to touch the Criminal Justice Administration Act and, they're going to touch the Evidence Act. Right? No. No. Let me tell you what my whole thing is. My understanding, and I stand to be corrected, of the role of the Attorney General is that she is the legal advisor for cabinet. So she's not a cabinet minister, which means that she doesn't speak on policy. So the Justice Minister or the National Security Minister may have a policy, or any other minister, the Minister of Finance, and they want to know what are the legal implications if it's constitutionally sound, and then they go to the Attorney General for advice. My understanding is that she doesn't sit in on cabinet discussions, but she's invited to cabinet to offer her learned opinion, and learned she is. Make no mistake, this is a very smart woman. Right? Okay. Now, she suggested, so it wasn't a policy proposal. So because like a lot of people, I was quite incensed, because I will not be abrogating, abridging, or you will not be infringing on any of my rights. Because as it is now, the security forces can kill with impunity and get away with murder. Thank God for Indicom, and thank God that the then Jamaica Labour Party, led by Bruce Golding, was able to bring Indicom to fruition. To me, it is the single most important investigative arm, along with MOCA, that have been implemented in the last 10 to 15 years, in my opinion. Right? Now, I don't want to go into the Bail Act and the Criminal Justice Administration Act and the Evidence Act, because it is going to take a little time, and the time is against me, because I had no idea that the discussion would lead to where it has led so far. But what I will say is, as I said, I was quite upset, but then she did not say that it was a policy proposal. She said that we may have to. And language is very important, especially in law. So I will wait for more and better particulars before I make any more pronouncements, but on what the Attorney General said. What I will say is that I do not support in any way, shape, or form any infringement on the basic human rights of myself and my fellow Jamaican citizens. I do not care which government it is. As I said to you, I'm a member of the Jamaica Labour Party. But I will not support any policy that I think will be harmful to the people of Jamaica, in my humble opinion. I don't support it. And the reason why I don't support it is because I believe that every single human being, by the fact that you are a human being, is entitled to basic protection under the law. Let me advance it a little. If you are a child rapist, you are afforded the right, because you're a human being, to, after a thorough investigation, to be locked up, but not to be beaten in the lockup or be subject to any kind of violence by other prisoners, right? You are entitled to go before a court of law in Jamaica. You're entitled to a fair trial. You're entitled to be judged by a jury of your peers. And if you're found guilty, You're entitled, and this, to be locked up for the rest of your life, or if I have my way, to face the ultimate punishment, which is the death penalty, because as I've said before, I do believe that there are certain crimes that are so heinous and so senseless and vicious that you deserve the death penalty. The point I'm making is that everybody deserves even basic human rights. There will be no infringing, because the security forces, specifically the Jamaica Constabulary Force as it is now, have had numerous listeners, right? Numerous incidences of extrajudicial killings. On Saturday, I think it is, right? On Saturday gone, the family of Jason Greg Smith, and every time I watch this, I get emotional. His name was Jason Greg Smith. He was a 15-year-old boy murdered by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, agents of the Jamaican state, on his way home from buying banana chips and bottled water. Right? So he heard some shots. They were, shootout. And a police convoy was passing through Spanish Town. So what you do when you hear gunshots? Don't you go run? They see this little boy. Suppose you saw him slight. He ran. They ran him down. They caught him. They beat him up because the autopsy showed that he had cracked ribs, collapsed organs, kicking, broken ribs. 15 years old, and the witnesses said they heard when a police said, "I want a boy there," another police, and they shot him. 15 years old, a student of Eltham High, in his chest, and he died. No police was ever found guilty. Because even though they went before the court, because the bullet expelled his body, listeners, they couldn't say which policeman fired the shot. No, to me, that's unacceptable. You may not be charged for murder, but you'll be charged maybe for manslaughter or something else. But but you know what the kicker is? This happened in 2002, and 14 years on, these animals who executed the 15-year-old, they're still members of the JCF. Yes, I may call animals because they are murderers. They're members of the JCF who continue to kill Jamaicans with impunity. So no Attorney General, there will be no infringement by human rights. Listen to me. Do you remember Nakia Robert Jackson? I think it was in Gold Villa. He has a cook shop, and police run up and shot him, killed him. The Dread, remember the Dread? So now the main witness, according to the judge, the one that is, there were 3 witnesses, but the judge has ruled that the main witness, the one that they really want to hear from, he has refused to testify because he says he has been threatened. So in today's Jamaican Observer, right? Let me tell you exactly. I'm not going to read everything. But let me tell you, in today's Jamaican Observer, it says quest for justice. And that is the problem, right? Human rights issues surrounding the fatal shooting of 29-year-old cook shop operator Nakia Robert Jackson in 2014 may have been laid to rest with him on Thursday when the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court threw out the case for lack of evidence. And this is something you see throughout extrajudicial killings. Either the witnesses are intimidated, or they're killed, or there's lack of evidence, or it crawls through the criminal justice system for like 10 years, and the people and the family continue to be traumatized, and there's no justice. Jackson was killed by the police on February the 20th, 2014, while he was serving food at his small cook shop on Orange Street in the Orange Villa area of downtown Kingston. I remember this because Paul Well and then Minister of National Security, with a big head, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get personal. What is his name? Peter Bunting, as well as Desmond McKenzie, still the MP, now Minister of Local Government and Community Development, right? Went there and assured the families that justice would be served. What justice? So corrupt sections of the JCF continue to murder Jamaicans with impunity, secure in the knowledge, listeners, that their acts of brutality towards the people of Jamaica will go unpunished because of the weaknesses and inefficiencies in our judicial system. Where is the justice for the family of Nikia Robert Jackson? Where is the justice for the hundreds of Jamaicans murdered in extrajudicial killings? Where is the justice, Minister of National Security, Minister of Justice, Attorney General? There will be no infringement, no abrogating, no abridgment of my basic human rights. Find another way. Excuse me, listeners. Find another way to solve the crime problem. Find it. And if you think it is beyond you, then someone else, I'm sure, get someone else to try. But it cannot be. So you are telling me that, so basically, as somebody that I follow on Twitter say, nail run up in my foot, and before me take out the nail and try and fix it, me I go amputate the leg. That's what you're doing. But it is a suggestion. It's not a policy position. I'm telling you why I'm not supporting it. I'm telling you my reasons. Right? So I'm not going to belabor the point. I will await more and better particulars. I just want you listeners to know, say, I don't support any state of emergency, and I don't support any infringement on my human rights and on the human rights of any Jamaican. Simple. Well, we have had quite a discussion this evening, quite a journey. And before I go, I want to close with what I always close with. Personal responsibility, civic duty. There's so many. Remember, I said earlier how you can get involved by going to the police station. How many of you even go to the police station and you have a woolly mango trees at your backyard, some nice Julie mango and East Indian, right? And you pick some and you carry them and just leave them at the police station, just because yes, there are animals in the JCF. We acknowledge that. And we know what to do to get rid of them. But in my opinion, overall, the men and women, overall, a large percentage, I would say maybe 70, which is really bad. It should be more like 95. But 70% in my mind of members of the JCF are really good people. I know a lot of them. I'm friends with a lot of them who are committed to protecting and to serving. Seriously, listeners. And there are ways for us as citizens to contribute to nation building where you don't have to have a talk show like me, right? You don't have to block road. There are ways, listeners. After you vote, if you do vote, and that is another thing for another when I speak about governance, right? Another, the next time I talk, I want to talk about governance and corruption and the economy. My next show. But what I'm saying is, voting alone, your civic duties and your civic responsibilities don't end there. There's so many other ways that we can make Jamaica better in your little own way. You have your yard, clean up your yard, man, and make sure it look pleasing. You can go up a Hope Garden and get some plants for $60, $100, $150. You can't even beg your neighbor, Jamaican kinds and we like to share. Beg your neighbor some flowers and plant in, the front of your yard and pretty up your yard. If you have items, old tire and them something that collect water, go dump them. Not in the gullies now, listeners. Please. Keep your area clean. You have jury duty. Get your doctor friend for write up doctor report when say nothing no do you. You go serve pan the jury because, the same thing always say the justice slow and look from when I have this matter, I can't bother and sometimes I feel like taking justice in my own hands. A lot of the times the sense is because they don't have any jury because people like you and not me, because when they call me for jury duty, I am there because I love to be a part of the system, obviously, right? Go. That is one of the reasons why your court case takes so long because them have no jury. So you do your part. Trust me. If 60-70% of us do our part, the other 30% will follow. I'm not ask you. I'm telling you. Make sure you pay your taxes. Nobody hide and say, me not pay no taxes because that's where my taxes are going. How you think the policemen get paid and the nurses and the teachers and the road patching? Yes, things are not where we want it to be. But we have to start somewhere. And for me, a part of it is being personally accountable and personally responsible. Pay your taxes. Right? Make sure you don't litter. Adopt a basic school. As I said, go paint a police station, something. Jamaicans, please get involved. Jamaica is the best place to live. Right? Where else somebody can call me and chew them know me love Blackie mango. It's like my favorite mango. Carry 2 dozen Blackie mango come give me at my house. And I'm not going to lie to you listeners. This when I finish, I have colic. But I did not care. You have I love jackfruit. Jamaica, when nice like when you jump in at the river. You go country. My father has a little farm in the country. And you go a river, you jump in at the river, you get a nice little river wash off. Come on, man. You think foreign nice? Yes, so nice. So what? We need listeners. Please, may I beg you, we all have to play our part for a better Jamaica, for a brighter Jamaica, for a secure Jamaica, for a Jamaica that is the economic and cultural powerhouse of this part of the hemisphere. I don't know why I'm dropping my H's. The emotions are getting to me. The point I'm making is, listeners, play your part. Play your part for a better Jamaica. So, we have had this journey. We really just spoke about crime and justice. But, it affects every Jamaican. And, one thing you can say about me, but never doubt, listeners, my love and my commitment for my beautiful Jamaica. And, as you know, I'm on air the second Sunday in every month, the second Sunday between 5 and 6:30 Jamaican time. So until we meet again, when we say walk good, it was such a pleasure having you. And until we meet again, one love.
might clip we wings, some we can't fly out. But when we there, yard, nothing nice like Jamaica. Roast breadfruit and banana. Under the tree with a glass of lemonade. Jumping on the river when me ready for bed. No boy can't buy me out. Me no foreign minded, no way compared to Jamaica. Jamaica love, we wanna feel Jamaica love. Everybody wanna visit Jamaica. Jamaica love, Jamaica. Jamaica love, we wanna see Jamaica love. The one that represent the citizens of Jamaica. Jamaica love, Jamaica.